Hi guys, welcome to Twin Perspective. I'm Joe, and tonight I'm going to be presenting my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Decided to go into the Twin Perspective world and do something a little entertainment based. I've spoken about my favorite 10 movies of all time often throughout the years I've had this channel, but I've never done a video mentioning all 10, so here we go. If you guys like me and like this channel, these are my favorite 10 movies. And briefly, of course, spoilers for all the films as I mentioned them, but mostly I'll just talk about my relationship with the film. And that's where this video is going. So here we go. At number 10 is technically for me a three-way tie with an honorable mention going to History of the World Part 1 by Mel Brooks. I love this movie. I remember thinking this movie was funny the second I watched it, the first time I ever watched it, probably, you know, 9 years old. It was funny then, it's funny now. It's one of those unheralded classics, comedy gold. And technically, the two films tied at number 10. I had to give an honorable mention to History of the World Part 1. At number 10, a tie between Airplane and Young Frankenstein. Airplane, Zucker, probably the most quotable movie of all time. I mean, slapstick comedy. And the thing about Airplane is not only the screenplay, which is hilarious, and which can be quoted, from beginning to end. Every line is hilarious. But I also really appreciate the direction. I think I think that there's a lot of great moments. You got that with Zucker before when they did. Oh shoot, what's the name of it? Val Kilmer. Oh, I'm never going to think of it now. And there was a great underwater bar scene. Just impeccable direction there. Um, Same thing in Airplane. The bar fight in Airplane to me is just brilliance in direction. The entire scene in the bar, including our lead actor dancing, and then the girl fight in the background, just beautiful. Mwah! And also at number 10, Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein. What an amazing film. 1974. This is a great film. Now, of course, I was interested when I was younger watching it because it was about Frankenstein, right? I'm a kid and I like monster movies. And of course, this is a comedy. And I think what sold me on it at an early age was the fact that my parents loved it so much, especially my mom. And we could sit there and watch that every weekend together. And Young Frankenstein, what a classic. Put the candle back. All right, at number 9 on my list of favorite movies of all time is the classic Star Wars. I was 6 years old, six years old when this came out, and exactly what a 6-year-old wanted. Give me a big world in outer space with droids and weird creatures and the most awesome bad guy and the unassuming hero, the kid who's out of place. I mean, just perfect to have this sidekick sort of hero in Han Solo who was really like the man of the bunch, the guy, the hero that you can actually count to come in there at the end when needed. Wasn't sure at first, but it happened. I do love Star Wars a lot. There's a lot of problems with it, I guess, but back then, and of course the impact it's had on film, I'm very comfortable putting that at number 9 of my all-time favorite movies. But at number 8, I'm going with Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. I think The Empire Strikes Back is a better film. And of course, the hero, Han Solo, who gets a large, prominent part in this. And, by the time this film came out, I was a little older. I was 9. So that was one of the first movies I ever remember watching where the film ended and it wasn't complete. And it seemed like our heroes were down and out. And I remember thinking, they have to have another one. Probably the first time in my life where oh yeah, if you didn't have another one after this, I'd be very upset. It would change the way I feel about the film. Of course, there was a third one. The good guys win in the end, sort of, and even though Return of the Jedi is not one of my all-time favorites, the fact that it did come out and we got to resolve The Empire Strikes Back makes The Empire Strikes Back that much better to me. So, at number 7 on my list is JFK by Oliver Stone. Now, this film came out in 1991, my favorite year of film. But in actuality, I didn't watch JFK for probably over a year after it came out. Wasn't quite sure I'd be into it all that much, and it's a pretty long movie, 3 hours long, so I kind of avoided it. And there was a point in my life, probably 1992, the year after it was released, a horrible point in my life. And a friend of mine was trying to cheer me up. He said, "We ought to watch JFK. This is a great movie. You're going to love it." And I'm thinking, you know what? Life sucks right now. I'm probably not going to like anything, even a film that I love you could put on right now and I wouldn't like. It was a bad time in my life. So I just let my friend go ahead and play it anyway. Never was interested in watching it. I'm in a bad mood anyway. And that movie grabs you from the beginning. It puts you in a situation where you're like, okay, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe that happened. What in the hell's happening? Very intriguing, very compelling, and I love the way it was broken up. There's acts in the film, and um, quite honestly, when that 3 hours is up, I'm kind of wanting more still. And I knew from the first time I watched this film, this is a brilliant movie. I mean, for me to be involved at that point in my life in this film, to be invested, it's a great movie. It gets better every time I watch it too. All right, at number 6 on my list of all-time favorite movies is technically my favorite comedy, which is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. First time I watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, I was a teenager. This was a movie that a bunch of my friends had seen and wanted me to watch, and it was very goofy. And when you watch it with people who love it, in a cultish way, of course, it makes the experience that much better. And years went by after I had initially watched it, and it wasn't nothing I was buying or putting in. And I remember being hanging around those old friends of mine and circumstances happening during the day when all of a sudden they're quoting this movie, and it was a hint. Like, I recognize that. I remember that from that movie. Wow. It's one of those things where it existed as like a cult classic amongst my friends years after I had watched it, and those things happen where just if we're gonna watch a movie, let's pop that one in. Every time I watched it, it got funnier and funnier, and I realized through one of the subsequent viewings that this this stupid movie is so funny. It's probably my favorite comedy of all time. No, I got it right up there with Young Frankenstein and History of the World Part One. Monty Python and the Holy Grail at number 6. At number 5, now we're getting into the top 5. Anybody who watches this channel knows I smoke 'em if you got 'em. You also know that David Lynch is my favorite director of all time. So, at number 5, I have Wild at Heart and Weird on Top. Wild at Heart. This is my favorite direction by any director in a film. It is also my favorite screenplay of all time of any film. Wild at Heart is one of those gems. People that have seen it and get it, they understand it's one of the best films ever. If you haven't seen it, maybe it didn't get you at the right time. It got me at the right time. I mean, that film came out in 1990, and I was 19 years old. And yeah, that kind of stuff was perfect. I mean, it's an action kind of road movie, crazy direction, crazy characters. I like to think that Quentin Tarantino got a lot out of that film. It reminds me of a Tarantino film. But it ain't Tarantino, it's Lynch, the greatest director of all time, and in my opinion, his best effort directing of all time. At number 4, another David Lynch classic, Blue Velvet. Now, Blue Velvet is my second favorite screenplay of all time and features Dennis Hopper in my favorite supporting actor role of all time. Brilliant movie. This one I went several years. It was released in '86, and I went several years before watching this. I wasn't going to rent this movie, not with that case. It looks like a romance and something like Made in Heaven, Blue Velvet. And then one day I flipped the back and read the back. The most talked about film of the decade. I'm like, okay, and this thing's controversial, and okay, well, maybe there's something to it. Yeah, there's something to it, all right. What a crazy, crazy film. And I can watch it anytime you want to put that one on, I'll watch it. I know every single line, I know every single scene. There's no surprises here. It's just a well-made movie. It kind of drags you into that world. Lynch has a way of doing that. Like I said, a fantastic screenplay. At number 3 on my list of favorite films of all time, The Fisher King, directed by Terry Gilliam. One of the greatest movies ever made that almost nobody talks about. This is Gilliam's best effort. This is Robin Williams' best effort. This is my favorite role by Jeff Bridges. An incredible screenplay. The Fisher King never fails to make me cry at the very end. Every single time. When Robin Williams, oh, I can't spoil it. You got to watch it for yourself. You got to watch it for yourself. But there, like my brother has said in past videos, there are comedic roles by Robin Williams and there are dramatic roles by Robin Williams. In The Fisher King, you get both. You get all of it. The first time I watched The Fisher King, I wasn't in love with it. But there was something to it. And through subsequent viewings, it all kind of grabbed me. There's a story there about redemption, and from every character, and it's really a nice character study because there's four main characters. You could basically pull it off as a stage presentation, and it has an incredible ending. I love good endings, and this one has one of the best. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. If you have not seen The Fisher King, I cannot recommend it enough. It is my most recommended film in my life. This one and my number one. But first, we get to number two on my list of favorite films of all time. And I've got Jaws by Steven Spielberg. If you consider it a horror movie, the only horror movie in my top 10 all time favorites. But I consider it mostly a drama and an action adventure kind of deal. Though it is a monster movie. And quite possibly the best movie ever made. I think Spielberg's direction is incredible. The scenes on the water with the handheld camera, all of it works just so well. You've got the captivating Robert Shaw, whose character demands attention every time he's in a scene. And you've got the sturdy, the relatable lead character, Brody, who comes across as your everyday man. He seems like the best father, the best husband, and the best cop. He's relatable, and so you're there on the ride with him. And of course, Richard Dreyfuss, who makes a film. Richard Dreyfuss as Hopper, and oh wow, everybody loves Jaws. Everybody's seen Jaws. Soundtrack's classic, and in my opinion, the best opening scene of any film. I absolutely love the opening scene. You got kids on the beach getting drunk. A couple of them flirting with each other. They decide to go skinny dipping. She gets naked, jumps in the water, and then gets eaten by a shark in a pretty violent way for a rated PG film. Pretty shocking beginning. Awesome, incredible. Thank you. So that leaves only number one, and of course, if you know me, you know my favorite film of all time is David Lynch's Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me. And most people I know who love Lynch like this movie. Some of them have a problem with the fact that it's so different than the TV series. And some people just find problems with it all over the place, but it is my favorite film. And I think the reason why it's my favorite of all time is because of the way I watched it along with Twin Peaks. I didn't see the entire Twin Peaks series. I had only seen the pilot in the first 7 episodes. And the second season wasn't available to me to watch, and the movie came out, Fire Walk with Me, and I thought, well, I can spoil the whole thing by watching this film, or I can wait until the second season's available. And I was a fanatic for Twin Peaks. I rented the pilot in the first, I bought the pilot, so I had it on VHS. But I rented the first 7 episodes on VHS over and over and over again. And it just gnawed at me. I just loved David Lynch films and couldn't see myself passing this up. So I watched it. And to use that late teens, early 20s lingo of mine, it was a acid trip movie. It was a film where I think if you put it on, you don't have to know anything about Twin Peaks. You really don't. You just have to take the film for what it is, which is a trippy movie, a acid trip kind of movie. So many things happening. I couldn't make the connection. I had seen the first season of Twin Peaks, but there was no Philip Jeffries. There was no corn and rings and There was a lot of stuff there to play with, and kind of giving Bob a definition, but really, it didn't, it didn't dawn on me till that second season became available. And God, I love that movie so much. Fire Walk with Me was one that I, at that time when it came out, I played that movie to all of my friends, and most of them had never seen Twin Peaks. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Watch this movie. They all really liked it. Now, we were all kind of crazy and we like crazy stuff. So, it made sense that they liked it. A lot of people have taken that Twin Peaks journey with me. Most of the time, I will watch the pilot and then the entire series and then go back to Firewalk with Me when I watch it with them. But certain people who like the kind of crazy stuff I like, I'll start them off on Firewalk with Me. All I can say is watching Firewalk with Me before season two, in my opinion, not only is Firewalk with Me the greatest movie ever made, but I loved season two. I couldn't wait for the next episode watching season two. As goofy as it got with the storyline in some of those episodes, and you know which ones I'm talking about, I still I still was in love with it. Okay, maybe I didn't have to see Firewalk with Me to like season two as much as I did, but I know that a lot of people who are Twin Peaks fans, they consider season one the classic and season two just having a lot of problems. I don't know. I was excited. I was laughing, even during Little Nicky, Little Nicky, even though, uh, even though it was bad and it had nothing to do with the overall story, I still enjoyed every second of it. Oh, so there you go. That's my favorite 10 films of all time. Had a chance to throw something together. Thought I would do something a little different. Wanted to get into Twin Peaks and Twin Perspective and give you something a little entertainment based to go along with the shut in times we are all experiencing at this moment. Well, I hope this gives you something to watch. And now it's all out there. It'll be forever on YouTube. And these are my favorite 10 films, and they have been for years. I haven't seen anything in the last 20 years that has been good enough to crack inside this top 10 for me. I've seen some great films in the last 20 years, but as of right now, I haven't seen one yet that's going to break into this top 10. So this will stay good for I believe, a while, especially since I don't even know who's going to release a movie in these days. But but that's my list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Joe. This has been Twin Perspective. Please subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos like this. And I will see you in the tree. Bye.